All right, Wednesday, and a lot of cool things going on. We were at, well, I was at, not we, because you guys weren't there with me, but I was at a conference today, XCAP. So many of you may know that we have the Texas Stock Exchange going live here in 2026. And us, along with NASDAQ, New York Stock Exchange, and the Texas Stock Exchange, and many others, Texas Blockchain Council, were all at the event today. Texas Blockchain Council put this on. It was a fantastic event. They had many prominent speakers from all of those different corporations up there on stage talking about the future of public markets and what that's going to look like, and also what the Texas Stock Exchange is going to look like. And really felt privileged to be there in the presence of all those people and got to listen to, many of the things that are coming when it comes to tokenized markets. That really wasn't the dominant conversation that was in the room, but it was alluded to a couple different times. I don't think that the Texas Stock Exchange is going to actually launch tokenized. That's probably going to come later, just based on the conversation that was had today. There's not a ton of liquidity. New York Stock Exchange and the Chicago Stock Exchange, which was they tried to launch that years ago. They really just rehypothecated that same entity and moved it here to Texas. You've got NASDAQ. It's been here in Texas for 20 plus years, helping companies gain liquidity and go public. And then the Texas Stock Exchange just last week was finally approved by the SEC to go live here in 2026. So a year, actually to the day after their initial announcement and registration with the SEC, they did get the approval and the green light to be able to move forward with that. Thank you, my wonderful wife with the tea, spooky tea. I don't know if you guys are into Halloween or not, but we are around here. Mostly my wife. I'm not quite as cool as she is when it comes to the Halloween stuff, but I do enjoy helping, and I do enjoy the haunted houses and stuff. So anyway, back to the Texas Stock Exchange. It's actually, I learned a lot today about how many companies are going public, why companies are staying private and not going public and accessing public markets. And we actually have half as many publicly traded companies today as we did in 1980. There were 8,000 publicly traded companies in 1980, and we're down to 4,000 today. They might be dually listed. A lot of different opinions on being dually listed between the Texas Stock Exchange, well, the New York Stock Exchange and NASDAQ. NASDAQ is the leader. They have the most liquidity and most listings at this point, more than the New York Stock Exchange, which has been around for 200 plus years. The NASDAQ has only been around for 50 years, and they're now the leader in that market. There's the lady that was there today. She manages all of the southern division of NASDAQ and South America. Very brilliant. Born in Houston, sharp gal. Rachel Cruz, I think was her last name, or Kurz, one of the two. Curz. Very spunky. Doesn't take any slack, which I really liked, and she definitely was from Texas. So, but anyway, she had some really good information, kind of metrics around the growth of NASDAQ versus New York Stock Exchange. All three of these exchanges are here in Texas. So you got the Texas Stock Exchange, New York Stock Exchange, and NASDAQ will all be running markets here in Texas. The way she explained it, NASDAQ has about 40% of all transactions for, markets for stocks. New York Stock Exchange has about 30, and then the other 30% is distributed across the other exchanges that are out there. And apparently there are more. Apparently there's 16 or 17 different exchanges at this point that people trade the stocks across. And all of that's settled through DTCC, and all of that is settled in the data centers in New Jersey. if you didn't know. And people vie for milliseconds on trading times, which is, there's a whole nother world for all of that stuff. So anyway, I really enjoyed learning, the different things about public markets. They talked about different times that you should look to go public with your company and when that's ideal. There's so much compliance and red tape and all these things that are required in order for your company to go public. And I think that's one of the reasons that we've seen such a reduction in companies trying to go public, or actually, going public. Many public companies have been taken private, like Twitter. Elon did that when he acquired Twitter and turned it into X. He took it private. We've seen, many others go through a similar deal. I think that there's a lot of dynamics at play that are causing companies not to go public. I mean, you got Ripple that's still private after 13 years. They're doing tender offers to be able to buy back shares for people to, give them some liquidity, especially the early investors that have held their stock for that amount of time. You've got so much more access to liquidity than you used to in the 1980s. Like if you wanted to raise $100 million in the 1980s, really the only way to do that was to access public markets. And now you have venture capital firms, you have private equity firms, you have acquisitions, you have private wealth that's amassed a ton of money that's willing to invest in capital markets and early stage stuff here in the US. You have family offices like ourselves, and there's about $16 trillion in net worth globally in family offices that are willing to invest in corporations, and they tend to be a bit longer term minded. One of the main complaints that I think a lot of people have when they take a company public is your earnings really kind of dictate your share price every 90 days. So if you want to spend money on an expansion and you're not going to meet the numbers that's what's projected by the analyst, it could cause, like Netflix has had, a 20% drop in their stock just because they didn't meet the number of subscribers that was projected by the analyst, right? So if you're going to put out these quarterly reports, and then you basically get a colonoscopy by the SEC, and there's just so many more stringent standards that you have to abide by if you're a public. I think we're going to continue to see many companies just continue to choose to be private, unless they need access to capital, or they need, early stage investors or their employees to be able to access liquidity. I don't know why people would choose to go public. You can get, private debt or use private equity. Private equity is still kind of rough. They're on a 5 or 10 year time horizon, and they're not they're going to strip costs as low as they can and make profitability as high as they can, because they have to have the most significant return for their investors, and they've got to make the company look good to be able to sell it to the next private equity firm or venture capital firm. I think family offices are probably going to be the go-to solution that most companies are going to be looking for investment from, because they tend to be a much more longer-term minded versus some of these fund structures. And I get the fund structure, right? Like people want their return, and they want it in a reasonable amount of time. If it's stretched out longer than 5 or 10 years, they don't get that money back. I mean, look at Ripple. Like I said, there's plenty of people that ran on a seed round or Series A for Ripple that have been holding that for 12 plus years. Now they have really substantial returns on that investment. That's the benefit of private equity, but you're not liquid, right? So Pack a B, I do answer questions. I normally do it over here on YouTube for when people do super chats. If I get through all the super chats, then I'll come back over here to TikTok. So anyway, just really interesting day. Enjoyed that event. They put that on at the SMU Cox School of Business here in Dallas, which is not that far from our office. So that was pretty easy, just a little hop across the highway from where we office to be able to get to SMU. And yeah, really liked that, and excited to continue to work with Lee and the Texas Blockchain Council to continue to innovate here in Texas and bring capital markets in and to this new technology, and kind of merge those things and figure out how to work with the traditional players in that capacity. NASDAQ has, applied to the SEC to tokenize their stock market, and I think it was approved. So we know all of that's coming. Which chain does it end up on? What's the settlement mechanism? There's a lot of things that people still think are up in the air that I think I know the answer to. But we'll see how that all plays out. So without further ado, we got a lot of people over here on YouTube and on X and on Facebook and over here on TikTok also. So again, I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your evening to hang out with me and ask some really good questions. And before we get into it, if you wouldn't mind hitting the like, subscribe, share this with somebody that you think would find value in it. We'll go ahead and hop into the super chats here. I've got a couple of them that I missed from last week. How do I pull that up? There was a gentleman that sent me $500 on a super chat last week. So I'm going to go ahead and start there. I just want to say thank you for that. I am blown away that somebody would send that much money on a super chat. So just again, thank you so much for the super chat. Let me see if I can pull it up here. Where is Mr. Living Legacy? He sent it to me, and there he is. All right. So the super chat says, Mr. Claver, Beyond Broke Mastermind, Carbon One, DWP member. Those are all the companies that we have and different tiers in the mastermind there. He says, when do we see low interest rate loans for XRP with DWP and holding HBAR, the date when that'll happen? Hats off to the tea lady and hope you and your family are well. Wishing you the best. And that's Desmo. Thank you so much for that much money in a super chat. I'm blown away that you would do that. So thank you very much. So lending rates on XRP being lowered, and then also the ability to custody HBAR at Anchorage for Digital Wealth Partners clients. Q4 here, we should have much lower rates for XRP. We have a partner that's coming on that I would love to tell you who it is, but I can't because of NDAs. But you will be very excited when you get that one, and we will be too. But I'm hoping for somewhere between 6 and 8% borrow against your XRP here in Q4 of 2025, and pretty confident that that's going to happen with this partner. So it is on the imminent horizon here, and we will make sure that you guys are well aware of it once we have that capability. We currently do have many people or partners that we're able to use for liquidity against your XRP. If you are a DWP or Digital Wealth Partners client, the minimums over there are 100,000 XRP and or $500,000 in total portfolio value. That can be traditional assets and your cryptos. If you got a 401k that has enough in it, or other traditional stock assets that you want to move over, along with your crypto, we can accommodate smaller amounts of crypto. And then HBAR. When are we going to be able to custody that? I'm confident here in the next week or two. They've been telling me a week or two for like a month, but their hard deadline is supposed to be like the 15th. So we will see. I'm not holding my breath. You shouldn't either. But it is imminent here also in Q4 for the ability to custody HBAR. And we'll be looking to be able to generate yield on your HBAR alongside your XRP. XLM is going to be further out, but we are working on all of those. And then we'll get to the other couple super chats we got here. We got Cheyenne. I don't know how I always miss your super chats, Cheyenne. I feel so bad. Thank you for following up and sending them over and making sure that I get them. She says 2 questions. One, which bank do you recommend to be tied to the LLC? So we do form LLCs for people if you want to manage your digital assets through a corporation and get the creditor protection and anonymity that is provided there in Wyoming. We structure that, very meticulously and done the right way so that you don't trigger any tax implications. We provide that everything end to end on your LLC for $2,000 if you use the code 50OFF 50OFF DAGLLC. Get you everything for your holding company that manages alternative investments with a sleeve in crypto. And that's the way you want to do it, so that you can work with the banks and get things set up. And it's not a trading LLC where you don't get the benefit of long-term capital gains. You want to do a single member so that you don't have any tax implications on the way in. And again, we give you the step-by-step process on how all that goes. So she's done that apparently, and she's wondering which banks are best to work with on the LLC. We normally recommend Mercury. Mercury's great. That haven't had any issues with them. We have a lot of accounts there. Old Glory is another one that a lot of people have had success with getting accounts for their LLC. And any other like large bank, you could get debanked over there. I'll just give you a fair warning on that. If it's Bank of America and they find out what you're doing, if you're sending money to a crypto exchange, they'll take the money. They'll take the money in, but they don't want you sending it back out to a crypto exchange. So if it's to Coinbase, they tend to be okay with that one. I don't know if it's because it's a publicly traded company or what, but if you try to go to Kraken or Uphold or one of these other ones, they will flag it. So Mercury, no issues, never had an issue over there. Old Glory seems to work great. Other people have had success with Capital One and accounts there. And those would probably be the three that I would recommend. That would be easy enough to set up an account, no matter what state you're in, for a Wyoming-based LLC. And then the next question she says is, I set up my LLC through DAG. Awesome. I thought that might be the case. Thank you for working with us. She said, post-price appreciation, when we start collecting a yield, how can I pay off my debt, house, etc., through the business without commingling funds? So in your operating agreement, you would be taking distributions out of the business. You will have to pay yourself a reasonable salary. In the eyes of the IRS, a reasonable salary for your LLC to manage it, somewhere between $50,000 and $70,000 a year. You will have to pay W-2 taxes on that. So Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, the other 13.5% on the tax rate, you will have to pay on the first, call it $50,000 to $70,000. Anything beyond that, you'd be able to take out as a distribution from the LLC. And again, these are pass-through taxation, so you're going to be taxed at whatever rate. So, you're going to want to spend some money inside the LLC on things that have accelerated depreciation to be able to offset that additional income. So, travel to conferences that have to do with what you're doing, travel to meet other business partners, to have conversations, educational information like magazines or subscriptions, things that you might be using to educate yourself on investments. All of those things are write-offs. You can also use the Augusta rule. You can rent your home to you and your business up to 14 times a year for the going rate of whatever an Airbnb is in your area. And there's a lot of different things you can do with your CPA or your tax professional, if they're proficient with the tax code, to be able to offset that income. Make sure that you're still taking enough out to be able to cover debts and do other things like you want to do without triggering any of the things that would pierce the corporate veil and commingling your funds. So again, you're going to want to find a good accountant. We have those for you. We also have bill pay. We also have the reporting and all the other things that you might want for your investments, lifestyle and concierge service for our our family office clients. And then aside from that, we have the wealth planning, we have the wealth management, we have business development, corporate governance, and then philanthropic. There's a philanthropic arm of our business, and then also insurance. So all of those things under one roof. If you're looking for all that post-price appreciation, when you guys are multi-millionaires and billionaires, we would love to work with you. And we've already got all the things in place today to be able to help you with that stuff. So hopefully that gives you some perspective there, Cheyenne. And again, appreciate your super chat. Then we got one more here. We got Key. They say, hey, Jake, the XRP Sultan. And I'll take that. That and Legend. I will answer to either. What do you think the chances of the Bank of Japan will hike rates at their upcoming meeting if the Fed cuts rates, which seems most likely, and Japan raises the next day? Then boom, the meetings are just one day apart, which makes this setup even more intense. Neither one of these central banks want to be the reason that the reverse carry trade unwinds. Neither one of them want to take the blame for that. So there's going to, there needs to be an orchestrated crisis that happens. I think it's going to be with oil. They point to and they say, we had to react because if we didn't, our economies and our people would have been harmed. So we had to do it. And it wasn't us. We didn't make that decision. And again, that's why I'm so confident in oil being the cause of the reverse carry trade unwinding. It's not just going to be a normal rate, meeting. Every time we have aggressively lowered rates here in the U.S., it's always been an emergency Fed meeting when that's happened. Most of the time, otherwise, to your point, it's like a quarter basis point here, quarter basis point there, maybe 50 basis points if it's a big deal. But anytime it's been more than that, it has been an emergency Fed meeting, and they've had to, drastically reduce interest rates. That would cause the reverse carry trade to unwind. We're already starting to see our treasury rates drop on the 3-month and the shorter term time frame for our treasuries. People are expecting the rates to drop in this next quarter, and then the rates in Japan continue to climb. We were over 1.7 on the 10-year. We need a spike. We need a 10% move. This person says oil is going down right now. Why? Look, when you say down and it's down a couple percent or up a couple of percent, none of that matters. It needs to be an aggressive move one way or the other to really have any impact on the economy. Things get priced in if they're moving slowly, and it's normally not that big a deal. But again, I'm pretty confident that there's going to be a catalyst that allows them to have a scapegoat and not take blame for the reverse carry trade unwinding. So those are the old super chats. Got through those, and we will go ahead and run into the other super chats tonight. I am going to go. We got a lot of them already, so I'm going to go all the way to the bottom here. So don't do any more super chats. I'm just going to say it right now. Just cut off the super chats right now for until I get through these, and then I'll open it back up because I don't want people to waste money and me not get to the super chats. So we're going to go ahead and cut it at like 30 minutes in here, and that way I can get to all the super chats that have already been put on here. And we'll start from the bottom and work our way up. We got Matt. He says, I love that you will custody HBAR. Wink if you know something we don't. It's by far my largest holding. Is a 3-digit price tag in the cards. I don't know what time frame you're talking about there, Matt. I love HBAR. I think it's going to be great. I think it ends up being the base layer for all Web3 dApps and most of the really Web3 applications at scale for Google and all of these other players that are on the board. I think within 5 years, sure. Like I feel very comfortable saying HBAR is 3 digits within 5 years by 2030. Before that, I don't know. Could it happen much faster? Sure. I think a 4-digit HBAR is reasonable on a longer time horizon within the next 10 years. But a 3-digit, I would be concerned if it wasn't at least 3 digits by 2030. I'll say it that way. We got another one. We say it's living our lives. They say, Jake, my good sir, greetings. After price appreciation, can I start an LLC through you all and use XRP equivalent of $2,000 for the initial year payment? Yeah, we will definitely be accepting payment in XRP. I don't know why you would want to do that. I would figure out how. I don't want. I'd feel bad taking your XRP. We're okay with that. Like if you want to pay us in XRP, cool. I will take it. Believe me. But I'd rather you have it. And here's the deal for me, right? Like I always try to align your best interest with us winning. Okay, so just to give you like, we both win, right? I don't like zero-sum games where one person wins and one person loses. Markets are all that way, but business doesn't have to be. So the more XRP that you can keep, and if you work with us and it continues to grow in value, we charge the AUM fees every year. as you make more money, we make more money, right? It's a win-win type situation on that. But if we take the XRP from you as payment for something that's a one-time deal, that's not going to continue to compound with the rest of your bag, right? So I would rather all of our clients just keep most of their XRP, if not all of their XRP, and then they make more money over the long term. We have more to invest on their behalf and help them grow over the long term. And our fees that we charge that are very fair also go up over the long term, right? So anyway, that's how I try to think about stuff. I want you to make more money, and then we make a little bit because we helped you make more money, right? I don't like normal advisors that rake you for a bunch of fees and don't make you anything or lose you money. Like, what am I paying for? I could have lost my own money. You know what I mean? So anyway, that's my 2 cents on that. But we'll have that, you know, we will offer it. We will take crypto as payment if people do want to pay us that way. But I would recommend paying in dollars if you can. We got the other side. They say, hey, Jake, one of BRICS Nation announced real-time FX settlement system. Could you look into it if it's Ripple's offering using XRP or something else? Don't know which BRICS Nation that was, but I would suspect that there's not anything that's got all the pairs for all the currencies that has a DEX built into the native network to be able to settle that. So probably, I don't want to say probably, it's definitely XRP. There's not really another option that would suit it. We got Frank Lamar. He said, Junior, excuse me. He says, Jake the Great, is Ripple going to get the bank master approval this month? Thanks for all that you do. God bless the tea lady. God bless the tea lady. That's really good tea. She got me apple cider tea or apple pie tea. I don't know. It's very good. It's very appley. Master account, Fed master account and banking license for Ripple. I'm going to say yes. I'm not going to say why, but I'm going to say yes to your question. And that's really all I can say. I'll say my best guess is yes, that it will happen in the very near future, probably this month. Let's see, we got Wealth Panda. Interesting name. I like it. Do you eat the bamboo? He says, hey, Jake, love what you do. Just curious on your opinion of solo and solo texts on tokenized equities. I was really down on Sologenic for a long time, just candidly. A lot of what they promised when they first came out, they just did not deliver on. They talked about, tokenizing equities and putting it on the XRPL and how they were going to do that. And they had, what's the other? There's another token that you got. It was airdropped to you if you had Sologenic. I was all on board. I wish I had bought a ton of Sologenic at 5 cents before it ran to $5. I looked at it, was like, oh, I could move all my XRP into this at the time, and I would have 100x'd my bag if I had done that. But you know how it is. You're like, XRP could go tomorrow. So I didn't do it. And I remember looking at that before it ran. And then they dumped on the market. A lot of the founders, rugged everybody over there. And look, I get it. Like, you need liquidity. You waited a year and a half. They had a lockup period and they sold some off. That's going to happen early on in projects unless you just have a vesting schedule where people only have a certain allotment, which I think is a better way to do it now that I have retrospective on things. But anyway, back to their long-term initiative. They did launch the NFT marketplace, which I do think was beneficial for the XRPL, but it still wasn't tokenized equities. They didn't get a broker-dealer license or an ATS or a transfer agent or any of the stuff that we were required to actually execute on what they talked about. And then recently they've partnered with somebody that had all of those things. So, okay, cool. We're taking steps in the right direction now. I'm a lot more bullish on it than I was probably a year ago, because I just didn't see them executing on any of the things that they said they were going to do. And you see me come on here every single week. I'm going to be here Monday, Wednesday. Sometimes I do miss, but I am if I say I'm going to do something, I do it. And, when other people don't, or there's just lack of transparency or communication, if there's a problem as to why they didn't, it gives me pause on stuff. But again, starting to get more bullish on it now. It does look like they're, at least moving in the direction that they originally set out to. And I'm hopeful that they're successful on it. And other people I know hold large amounts of it. So again, would love for those people to make a lot of money. We got hurt them bad. He says, hey, Jake, I'm already in the mastermind. Awesome, dude. When my XRP appreciates to the required value, who do I contact in your organization to get things going? Appreciate the super chat, hurt them bad. You would just go to, I don't know if you have the LLC yet. So just to give kind of delineate things here for people, Digital Family Office or Digital Ascension Group, DBA, is the corporation that helps you do the estate planning and a lot of the other family office services. So you go to digitalfamilyoffice.io to set up your LLC. And again, you can use the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG get you everything for $2,000 there. We will likely only provide that code to people that are in the mastermind post price appreciation. Everybody publicly, it'll be $4,000. We'll remove the discount for people publicly on the other side of price appreciation for the LLC. It'll only be people in the mastermind that can receive that additional discount, and we will change the promo code. So the only people that will know will be in the mastermind. So you'll be taken care of, hurt them bad. You'll be in the group. And again, if you guys want to join the group and be part of that mastermind, just go to beyondbroke.com and use the code beyondbroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2 there in social or carbon 1. So we will continue to look out for the mastermind far, far beyond price appreciation. We will be locking the mastermind down when XRP gets to $10. So just know that if you're in, you're in. If you're out, you're out. It will be much more stringent to be able to participate in the mastermind post price appreciation, and the cost will be significantly higher also. So if you want to lock that in, I would encourage you to do so now. So back to the other side. So let's say you already set up the LLC and you just want to onboard into Anchorage and set up your FBO account and get insurance on your assets and get an advisor and get access to yield and return products and also the ability to borrow against it. You want to be able to put your spouse on the account because they don't know anything about crypto, and this makes it super easy for them. You can put your kids on the account as beneficiaries. It's basically a Schwab account for your crypto. And you own it still. It's bankruptcy remote, segregated, never commingled, yours in institutional custody there with Digital Wealth Partners. And so that's the website. Just go to digitalwealthpartners.net, use the contact us form. And if you've got over 100,000 XRP or over $500,000 in digital assets, we would love to work with you to be able to provide all of those services I just ran through there. All right, we got Michael, $2. Appreciate you, sir. He says, hey, Jake. When do XRP ETFs go live after approval? Immediately. They would have to list, the DTCC would have to give them tickers, and then they would list as soon as the S1s were approved. But it looks like they're standardizing the S1 approval process and submission. So as long as the spot ETFs that are submitted meet that standardized process, they should immediately be approved by the SEC and be able to go live the next day. Living Legacies posted this on here, so I try to put it up on the screen because sometimes I talk too fast. But this again is the code for the LLC to get you everything you need end to end for $2,000, one and done. Don't have to think about it, and you're all set up on that side. We got Omar. He says, thoughts on Red Rock being chosen for the Smart Oracle. Don't know what Red Rock is. I will say that Chainlink by far is the best enterprise Oracle that's out there in the market right now for price oracles and for other applications. But there are a few other ones that have distinct use cases and niches that they're trying to tackle. You got Plugin over there on XDC's network that is the Oracle for trade finance. And then there's been a few other ones that are looking to be the Oracle for real estate. We are looking to develop the oracle for private equity and Reg D funds here in the US. Bobo the Wood. Okay. Interesting name. They say if one day retail will not be able to buy crypto because banks will have it all, we will still be able to sell our crypto or we will be locked out. Yeah, they'll take it. There'll always be a sell option. So I did put out a video today. If you guys haven't checked it out, I would encourage you to go check it out. Justin Kincaid is over here. He says, "Wake up, Uncle Danny, and join the mastermind." So back to this over here. I did put out that video earlier today. In the situation, kind of described what I think. I mean, I am very concerned that the exchanges are going to go away and not look like they do today. We talk to the banks. They don't have the infrastructure to be able to support things like we do. And they're not building it. If they are, they're 12 to 18 months away. They are going to have omnibus structures like they do at the exchanges. And the only way that functions really for people, if they know what they're doing, is through structured products like they have with the ETFs. So they'll issue a security or a structured product on top of that, and they'll hold the underlying asset, and then you'll be able to buy that in your traditional stock portfolio. And now you have managers and other RIAs and other people that can advise on these assets and roll it into your stock portfolio. I mean, you even hear Kevin O'Leary talking about, crypto will be the 12th sector of the S&P. The only way that that actually happens is through structured products. I don't think they ever had any intent of you holding the bearer asset. I mean, you don't hold stock certificates. Most people don't buy gold. They buy gold derivatives or paper. They roll contracts on the COMEX. Somebody else holds the gold and they still get exposure to it. That's just how most of the financial markets work. And I'll tell you, family offices, they don't want to have to learn how to use crypto. They just want to be able to get an allocation in crypto. Most of them have done it through funds or fund of funds at this point. Some of them do own crypto directly and have the exposure, but then they've got to figure out the governance around that, right? So one of the family offices I talked to is Salt. That gentleman's got 4 different people on his financial committee, and they come together every quarter. They all live on different continents, and they all take a portion of the keys with them when they leave. So it's a paper wallet that he holds his Bitcoin and his ETH in, and it's just reconstituted every time they come back together if they want to change that allocation. Very probably basic is probably the best word. I was going to say like barbaric way of doing this, especially since we have institutional custody and nobody has to see or hold the keys, and it's insured, and they get all the assurances that they would with their traditional stock portfolio. And I explained that to him. But again, like there's just a large learning curve with a lot of this stuff for most people, and they don't want to deal with it. They would rather just buy it through their traditional stock portfolio. So I think that's the way things are going to go. And if Tether does implode, which we all know it's coming, that'll give them the perfect opportunity to be able to swallow up these exchanges for pennies on the dollar, strip the assets out, put them in structured products, and then, sell it to all of their clients. And I really do think that's what's going to end up happening, because I'm watching the trends and they are not moving the direction that I was hoping they would move. I think there's a possibility that we end up like a one-of-one solution out there in the market. We've got Crypto Keeper Joel. He says, "Good evening, Jake. My friend has 25,000 XRP, 100,000 HBAR, and a total of 105K for others. He messaged DAG earlier today. I know you guys can handle the LLC. Do you recommend a family trust? And will you guys handle that as well?" When you say family trust, not sure which jurisdiction you're in, my man. So they're in Australia. There's an actual thing called a family trust. This person says, "What's the minimum to invest with you?" At least 100,000 XRP or $500,000 in total portfolio value, including traditional assets. So back to the family trust. They're in Australia. They have a product called a family trust. And we have people there in Australia that can help set that up for you, either Consensus Layer or Tax on Chain. Both of those groups are awesome. They're in Australia. You can reach out and to info@digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we can get you in contact with our contacts at those two businesses. Or you can message them directly. Just let them know that you heard me talk about them, and they'll make sure that you get taken care of. And then, but if that's here domestic in the U.S., you may be referring to a living trust. A living trust isn't going to hold your digital assets. I wouldn't recommend moving your digital assets into a living trust. It's going to provide probate protection, but it's not going to provide any creditor protection. And that, again, is why you would use an LLC in Wyoming. You get charging order protection there in Wyoming. I actually watched a video that I sent over to Zach Rector earlier today about a gentleman who talked about, how to protect your home, your actual physical residence, and if you should move that into a company. And he did recommend for some people, using a Wyoming LLC for the creditor protection and the anonymity that you get from that, and deeding your property over to that LLC. This person says common law trust. No, we do not touch common law trusts. Anybody out there trying to evade taxes or set up structures to evade taxes, don't recommend that. There's lots of ways to compliantly not pay taxes. And I want the IRS to go away just like everybody else does. Okay. Like, I hope that all of this that people are talking about with Trump and the IRS getting removed and all that happening, please, I would love for that to happen. I would love to go to a tax system like they have in Dubai, which is a 6% value added tax on everything that's not a necessity, right? For survival. So if it's not water, food, or shelter, it's taxed at 6% across the board as a federal tax. Everything's on blockchain. If that ends up being the case, they would be collecting a ton of money on all of that, and I think that would be a very fair way of doing it. Middle East has a little bit different situation than us with the oil, and the government's ability to monetize that, and they're able to actually pay people a stipend that are citizens there. So a little bit different setup. I get that. But, now that we have the tariffs in place, you can think whatever you want about that. I'm not here to get political. But in the past, when we have used tariffs, it actually worked pretty good. We didn't have income tax here in the US. They got rid of the tariffs and implemented the income tax. And taxation is theft, in my opinion. And that is why we do all that we can do to mitigate taxes for people. But we have to do it legally, because they still have the guns. They still have the people. They will throw you in prison for tax evasion. Okay. And if you're a small fish, it doesn't matter a whole lot. You might get audited and they have some fines and But when it's $20 million or $30 million or $50 million that you're evading in taxes, you're going to jail. And if you think your common law trust is going to be, holding that up, it's not going to. It's not going to hold up in a court. So we use asset protection trust and dynasties trust and spendthrift trust, charitable remainder trust. There's like 88 different types of trusts out there. And, we have access to all those tools because that's what they are. They're tools. But we do not use common law trusts. And I would encourage you to look at whoever is trying to coerce you into that. If there's somebody that says you can defer taxes in perpetuity, or, evade or remove taxes by using this type of trust, I would suggest not working with them. There's, again, plenty of ways to legally mitigate taxes. Tyler says, so I want to put my crypto, into institutional custody, but I don't have enough to work with you. Where should I put it? Caleb and Brown? Well, I have a video on this. Caleb and Brown is not institutional custody to my standard. Okay. So there is no definition of institutional custody. But I would say this. They do segregate your assets. They use fire blocks. There is some insurance on your assets over there, but they are not a qualified custodian. They're not licensed in any financial capacity. They don't have, $100 million worth of insurance on your assets. It's a little bit. They do charge significant fees for trading over there. And that's why they're able to pay their affiliates, 6 figures a year to tell you to use Caleb and Brown. Just being real. I have talked to them. I met their CEO before. I've had him on the show. We've talked about their products. They did get acquired by another fund or another, not a fund, but a fintech, an exchange over there in Australia. I don't know what it's going to be like moving forward. I think that was a land grab for them, $60 million acquisition, which kudos to Jake and people buying him out. And I'm happy for him. But I think he saw the writing on the wall and knew that, there's a lot of legal and compliance that they needed to get in place to actually continue to execute on the vision that he had originally had for that. And it's just very cumbersome over there in Australia. It is most financial, other than the US, Australia is the most financially stringent jurisdiction on the planet. If you can operate in New York here in the US, you can operate in Australia. Like, that's the level of scrutiny that they have there. So for them to actually get the financial licenses to be able to operate in the capacity that would qualify them as a qualified custodian in Australia, I don't know if they meet those. They do run mock audits, from my understanding, over there at Caleb and Brown. So, Caleb and Brown, I would say, is probably the best choice when it comes to exchanges and the segregation of assets and the other stuff, but they're still not institutional custody, in my opinion, to my standard. We got John. Thank you for the super chat, my man. He says, I want to say thank you. One day we're going to be having great whiskey together at a convention or get together. I will use my Mercury company card and write the bill off. KYB started yesterday. Price appreciation coming next. Thank you. Absolutely, dude. Thank you so much for working with us and being a good client. We have really good people that we work with. And again, none of this is, I just want to say this, none of this is possible without you guys. If you guys didn't want the services, the institutional custody and the returns on your XRP and the access to all the stuff that we have and the ability to mitigate taxes and set things up the right way for yourself and your family and your future generations, like, we wouldn't have a business. We wouldn't have anything to be able to help people with. So I was just talking to one of our employees a little bit earlier. And, the fulfillment that I get from this, I've never had another job like this. I wake up every day excited to actually be able to help people with something that they need. I never feel like I'm selling anybody anything they don't need. And I'll tell you not to buy it too. Like, other people are like, when should I get an LLC? Do not get an LLC if you have less than $50,000 to $80,000 in crypto. It doesn't make sense. Keep buying the crypto. Like I said before, I would rather you buy as much crypto as possible, because we all get to work together even more in the long term, if that's the case. And the other piece, I would say, like, a lot of people are frustrated that we don't work with smaller accounts. The reason that we don't currently is the costs are too high and the red tape is too stringent. But as we continue to scale, we will continue to bring down costs on things, and we'll be able to democratize access much, much more, especially on the other side of price appreciation. So headcount, we're hiring 12 advisors this month on the wealth management side, which is a big jump for us. We'll double our team over there. And we're doing that in anticipation of a lot of things happening here in Q4. So again, thanks, John, for the super chat. And I'm looking forward to the whiskey, my man. Like bourbon also. Old fashioned. I like an old fashioned. So that's my go-to when I go out. He says, hey, Jake, the hair is looking fab. Thank you, man. I was thinking it was looking a little wild tonight, personally. It's because it's curly. I've never had super straight hair. He says, I need to meet in person for a follow after setting up my LLC or follow-up. Best way, Carbon One is awesome, by the way. I wish I was better at technology, though. Thanks. The baseball babe. So we do have the office here in Dallas. I will say this, Most of the clients that come in are family office clients at this point. They've got at least 20 million in assets to set up a time and come in and chat with us, and you get to meet the team and work with them. We'll probably continue that theme for the foreseeable future. But that's not to say that we won't continue to scale out and have satellite locations. I want people to be able to meet people in person, especially when it's large amounts of money or what's meaningful for you. It makes I want to be able to look you in the eye and shake your hand, and I also want to be able to drive over to where you are and punch you in the mouth if something bad happens. That's just the way I like to do business, right? So we do everything onshore, we do everything compliantly, we do everything to set a standard in the industry and make sure that it is legit and real. And again, I do like that personal touch. So I will figure that out. I don't know what that's going to be yet, but we will have that component to what we do. This person says, "Are you real?" I mean, I got all my fingers. I'm not AI. We have real people that work for us. We have almost 40 employees. This person says, "I see a lot of fake Jakes." Yeah, you do. I think I am the most faked content creator that's on. I don't know if it's any platform, but it's got to be close at this point. We delete about 500 fake accounts per day across all the platforms. So I wish we could, I think digital ID will solve that. I've said that before. We're continuing to do our best to reduce those and take those away. But there's only so much we can do. So just be aware of that out there. If you're watching this, this is my real account. This is my only real account. I only have one on each platform. The rest of them are fake out there. If I DM you, it is a scam. I'm never going to message you. I don't have time to message you. And I'm not saying that to be mean or malicious. I am working my ass off every day. For the moment I wake up until I go to bed, I'm on here till 11 o'clock on Monday and Wednesdays. I'm working 14, 16-hour days most of the time. I wish I had time to sit on social media and message people. I don't. We literally have we have some great people that will message you back. If you message us, they will respond to you, but they will not reach out to you. So just be aware of that. If somebody reaches out to you, and I'll also never ask you for your XRP or your crypto. It's not me. Only Digital Wealth Partners does that. I don't work there. I don't even have a Digital Wealth Partners email. Sure don't. So if somebody's asking you for you to send your crypto anywhere on social media, in Telegram, WhatsApp, social, DM, it's a scam. We're only going to communicate with you through email, and our team's also not going to ask you to send it. It's going to be from Securitize. You're getting an email from Securitize that says, "Hey, here's your test transaction stuff. Please send your stuff over to Anchorage." There's no Web3 wallet. There's no Flare airdrop. There's no any other scam that people are coming up with. It's not me. So keep your head on a swivel and don't fall for the fake stuff that's going on out there. A couple more super chats here. We got Hodl, the Calvary. They say, question about a self-directed crypto IRA held on Gemini. It's an FBO account, but is there any risk in the exchange taking XRP in a liquidity crisis? Thanks for all that you do. So this is why maybe they could. If it is an FBO account, you're probably okay. If it's segregated, bankruptcy remote. Gemini is a state chartered trust bank for their custody side. The reason we use Anchorage is they are federally chartered. And you might say, well, what's the difference? A state chartered bank, if it were to go into bankruptcy, is bankruptcy remote at the state level. If a creditor tries to pull them to the federal level and pulls it into federal court, you are now an unsecured creditor. And they have the ability to take your assets in that bankruptcy. So that's why we use a federally chartered bank and not a state chartered bank with Digital Wealth Partners for who we work with. We've looked at all of them, and that's the same conversation we've had with all of the state chartered banks. They're like, well, it's bankruptcy remote, but here's this one small chance circumstance where it could be a problem. And I'm like, not risking that. Sorry. And I think that's also why you've seen Ripple apply for a federally chartered bank and not a state chartered bank, because there is that nuance. There's also a much larger institution that's relief of stay. There would be another trust bank that would immediately step in, take over in the moment of a bankruptcy, and you would be immediately able to remove your assets. Even in bankruptcy remote situation, you still have to go through the bankruptcy proceedings, but you will get your assets. They cannot liquidate them. You are not a creditor. They cannot use them in the bankruptcy proceedings, but it will take a little bit before you get your stuff if that circumstance plays out. I feel extremely comfortable with Anchorage for a couple reasons. They have a very strong balance sheet, over $500 million on their balance sheet. They're doing pretty good. And aside from that, BlackRock moved all of their assets there for their ETFs, and they're not going to move it to they're not going to let that happen to BlackRock. I can tell you that right now. So for them to move it away from Coinbase makes you go, why would they do that? Omar says, I asked before when you think XRPO will be used, if Ripple's Codius plan for 2027, but the US clarity is needed. Could global flows like Japan carry trade drive scaling first? And does Codius play a role or is it separate? Codius is a separate platform that uses XRP to settle. It's kind of like a layer 2 on the XRPO that's built out for derivatives and smart contracts. It might be able to be implemented on a side chain, but it's a repository of smart contracts built out for complex derivatives. The XRPL is already being used and trialed in certain applications, ODL, and there's other jurisdictions that banks do settle money into using XRP, like the Turkish lira or the Zimbabwe dollar or the Argentinian peso. Those currencies are inflating at a rate that they're not comfortable with holding that counterparty's currency, and so they'll use XRP to settle to those jurisdictions. Removing the Nostro Vostro accounts and the need to hold currency in those jurisdictions with counterparty banks. So it is being used, and that's why people get frustrated. They're like, oh, XRP is not moving. It needs to be a stable price for those payment flows to actually be able to be settled. You don't want it to be volatile, otherwise they're not going to use it. So I know it's frustrating. We already have clarity for XRP here in the US. It is not a security. Now, the Clarity Act, I do think, could happen here in 2025 if the government shutdown will end. But I think that might coincide with everything else I've been talking about. And if they go to move and they need a tool to be able to settle things real time, there's only going to be one option if they haven't passed that Clarity Act. Keel over here, Kyle, he says, can I get the discount code? I do recommend Decent on the wallets. Not sure which discount code you want, but I'll give you both of them that we have. If it's for the mastermind, you can use right up here at the top if you're watching on YouTube or X, Beyond Broke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar, all capitalized, gets you the first month for $2. They're in the mastermind for social or carbon 1. And then if you want the code for the LLC, that's 50 off, 50 OFF DAG, like Digital Ascension Group LLC. So 50 OFF DAG LLC gets you everything for $2,000 there on the LLC at digitalfamilyoffice.io. We got Mark. He says, hey, Jake, but hearing a lot of people talk about Chainlink, total supply being 100 billion when it comes to supply and demand, does it still apply? Price needs to move up if tokens are all bought up. Yes, is the short answer, Mark. A lot of people think that CCIP, or cross-chain interoperability protocol, on Chainlink is what institutions are going to use to settle. They're not going to. You want to be able to move data across chains into different smart contracts based on different stipulations and price oracles and whatever else is needed to be able to meet, the constraints of that smart contract for the information being provided. It's very clunky for settlement. It's not a good tool for that. I know people want it, you know, end all be all, and this thing works for everything. There's going to be a multi-chain world. There's going to be things that do what they're good at. Chainlink is an oracle, mainly a price oracle. HBAR provides really good security and data management. It's okay for settlement also. It could be used in that capacity. I know that because Bank Social uses Hedera and the XRPL to settle real time. They're already implemented with multiple credit unions. So if anybody else is out there telling you that somebody's got traction with their blockchain for credit unions, tell them to just sit down. I know the people that are actually signing contracts with the credit unions at scale, like large credit unions, not your mom and pop one location in BFE. Okay. Like the real deal credit unions are using Bank Social. So excited for John over there. And if you guys want to join the mastermind, they actually also do asset recovery for us with Secura. So anybody that's carbon 1 or higher, if you'll log in, you'll create an account, and if somebody phishes you or you get hacked or your assets get stolen, yeah, they will help you recover those assets. This person says metal blockchain. I'm not going to talk bad about anybody else. I could pay the $1,400 to get listed on the Fed's website there. Anyway, it's not worth my time. Sorry. We got this person says, "Hey Jake, I just want to say thanks for you building everything that you have for all of us. Props to your team and mainly the tea lady for allowing you to spend time with all of us. XRP, let's go." Absolutely, my dude. Appreciate you on the super chat. And yeah, none of this is possible without our team. So I'm just really blessed to have really good people that see the vision and want to work with us in the capacity that they do. And, again, I feel extremely blessed and grateful every single day for all of the fantastic employees that we have at Digital Ascension Group. Got over 40 employees that work for the company at this point. We've watched that scale in the last year. About a year ago, I think we were at 7. So close to, before the end of the year, it'll be a 7x on the amount of staff that we have. I'm sure that we'll be at 50 employees by the end of the year. Ishmael, he says, we've got onboarding for DWP, the PGF. Thought it would do well on the ups and downs, but I just do not. Prime Growth Fund is what PGF stands for. Just not sideways. Should I still go all in with 3+ year time horizon, or just do 50% and maybe wait for product yield products? It's up to you, my man. I can't give you financial advice. I can tell you what I'm doing. I went in the income fund with my stuff because I just candidly, I want the cash flows to make sure that we're able to continue to accelerate the growth of the business and I don't want to have to raise money from other people. But the growth fund will do extremely well, especially if we do see trends in the market. I do think that XRP is going to go on another rip or another tear here in Q4. And if they're able to capitalize on that, I mean, last November, they did close to 20% in 1 month on the growth fund. So, we won't get all of that because of the way we structure it to mitigate loss, but probably get half of it, more than half of it. So maybe like a 15% return in 1 month if things went really well. So, if we saw a $50 XRP or $100 XRP or a $1,000 XRP because of certain circumstances playing out here in Q4, I think the growth fund would do extremely well over that period of time. So that's up to you. The yield products are coming. We're also going to have those here in Q4. And, those are going to be zero risk, or as low risk as you can get, like reverse repo and treasuries type situation. And that will be somewhere around 3 or 4% that we're able to pay people, kind of like a CD on your XRP. So to just get locked for whatever time frame you're willing to lock it for. Those will be monthly distributions that are paid to you on that asset. The 3 or 4% that you earn will be paid out to you monthly So that's the annual yield. It'll be amortized across the monthly distribution on that. So if it was 4% a year, it would be around 1/3% per month that you would get paid monthly on that product. So what I envision for most people is that they will be taking the lion's share of their XRP and placing it in that yield product. And then you would probably escalate on up from there to things that are a little bit more moderate risk, if you want to call it that, on the growth fund. I mean, we've mitigated as much risk as we can possibly mitigate to put things in place. I'd still say, like, on a 1 to 10 risk curve, 1 being no risk, 10 being all the risk in the world, we're probably at like a 1.7, 1.8 on the 2 funds that we have today for income and the growth side. So, however much risk you want to take on that. I think a lot of people, and I also don't know how old you are. So if you're closer to the end of your time horizon and you just want stable income and you want protection and to mitigate downside risk, you're probably going to put more of your total portfolio in just the yield generating product versus being a little, escalating up the risk curve. So it's up to you. But I think most people will do a blended deal, maybe 50-50, maybe, at least, most family offices are putting 20 to 40% of their total portfolio in bonds and treasuries, money markets, low risk stuff. D-Low Enterprises says, if you are within the top 2% of XRP holders, would you continue to stack more or buy SHX token? Also, any info on XRP income ETFs like NEO's BTCI ETF? We're working on something that I wish I could share with you, my man or lady, that will be a publicly available product that pays you something on your XRP. Yeah, I wish I could say more. Stronghold's cool. I don't know why people are so bullish on Stronghold. Like, it's a good project. It's got utility. Sales team sucks. I emailed them multiple times and tried to get them to work with us to be able to do payment processing, and they never got back to me. I've even messaged them on Twitter, and they also still haven't got back to me. So I don't know if they don't like me or they don't want my business. I mean, we process a pretty good chunk of change monthly at this point. I'm sure it would be meaningful for them, but if they're not even going to be able to get back to me, I don't know how much market share they're actually going to get. So it's a great concept. The only way that I think Stronghold is going to be worth anything is if Stripe or another large company that's a payment processor buys them out. Because you're going to have Stripe launch their own token. You're going to have PayPal. You got all of these other payment processors that I think are just going to stomp them out unless they get acquired. And again, would love to be wrong on that, just so you know. I would love for people to make bukus of money and me just be horribly wrong on Stronghold. Personally, I just continue to dollar cost average into XRP. We got Kermit. They say, hey, Jake, thanks. Please talk Anchorage, ease cost steps and turnaround time for taking profits. Man, you asked a lot of questions here. Okay, so we'll tackle them one at a time. Okay, so ease cost and steps to turn around for taking profits. We charge 20 basis points on any size trade. Doesn't matter if it's $1,000, $1 million, $10 million. It's only 20 basis points with no spread. So other exchanges are always going to have a spread and they're always going to have a fee. Most of them, the fee is similar on OTC to 20 basis points, but they're still going to have a spread. And that's where they really get you for like closer to 1%. We have no spread and it's 20 basis points. So it's the cheapest option to buy or sell any crypto that Anchorage holds. Now, again, we have AUM fees, right? So we make our money a different way. That's why we do trading fees as low as possible, bare bones. We don't make anything on them. Super easy. Call your rep, tell them what you want to do, wire your money over if you're going to buy, tell them where to wire it if you're going to sell, execute, good to go. Set limit orders if you want to. We got Kermit. He asks again, number 2, he says, future risk of regulations or lockdowns by U.S. government. I'm not worried about it, man. I know a lot of people want to put, fear monger and tell you that the world's ending and all this stuff. I'm not worried about it, especially under the current administration. And then he says, extra issues for Australians. Nope. Nope. We can definitely accommodate Australians. We work with plenty of Australians. I had another call with Australian yesterday, and he's onboarding today. So, yeah, would love to work with you if you meet the minimums and have your assets in an entity. We got 180 Auto. He says, XRP legend. What's up, man? Who are some people or organizations to follow on X and YouTube for good, accurate crypto info? Besides Paul Barron, I like Paul Barron. Zach Rector, I like Zach Rector. Brad Garlinghouse, and you. I would say Digital Outlook. I like Dave and Judy. They're good people. Accurate information, though, is what you asked about. Depends on what you're looking. Eleanor Terrett is always on top of it. She does a really good job for Fox and on Twitter. Trying to think who else is good on YouTube. If you want some alternative opinions, because again, I don't like living in an echo chamber, I'd encourage people to go check out Raoul Paul. He likes SWE and Solana, and he presents a lot of really good information there. I know, I sound really confident, and I am in my thesis, and I would bet against pretty much anybody on it. I literally have public bets against other people on it. But, I do like getting an alternative perspective just so that I don't live in an echo chamber and challenge my own biases frequently. And if I'm presented with enough compelling data, I can change my opinion on things. I know a lot of people get entrenched in certain stuff. The reverse carry trade and the domino theory, I'm 100% on. Like 100% on. But that's probably the only thing in my career that'll ever be like this sure on. Maybe not. Maybe there'll be more things in the future. I don't, know the future, but like I'm for sure on all of that playing out. But I do think there will be other tokens in the future. We're looking at Hash. I think super bullish on Hash. If you guys haven't looked at that project, and this is probably a good time for my disclaimer. Everything here is for entertainment and educational purposes only. It's not financial advice. Before making any financial, tax, or legal decisions, you should always seek counsel from your financial advisor, your CPA, or your attorney. And if you need those professionals that are licensed and have those credentials, you can always reach out to us at Digital Ascension Group. And again, I should state this also, these are my opinions and my opinions only. They are not the opinion of the firm or Digital Wealth Partners. So now that I got my legal piece out of the way, yeah, I mean, you listed some good names here. Those are, there's not a ton of people that really give you good stuff consistently and are on top of it and understand what's actually going on. I think the ones that you're watching, along with Eleanor Terrett, would do really good for you. We got Mr. Affiliated. He says legend. Big B's buying supply. I'm not selling it back to retail. XRP not going away from retail. It's being rerouted, abstracted, and gated. Cold storage, more essential than ever. Yeah, I definitely would get your assets off of exchanges like as soon as possible. Coinbase is down to like almost nothing for their XRP available to retail. You've got other exchanges lowering their liquidity for retail on XRP. Robinhood is suppressing your ability to make withdrawals. Get your stuff on a cold wallet. And again, if you want to leave it over there on Caleb and Brown, that's your prerogative. I would highly recommend a cold wallet. And again, everybody asks me what cold wallet. I say decent, but there's a lot of good ones out there. There's Tangem, Arculus, EliPal. The list goes on. Trezor, like it goes on and on and on. The only one that I don't use is Ledger. And it's for many reasons, including the UI and just how cumbersome it is to use. Rocket Time says, should I use a HELOC for max gains on XRP or just sit tight with my decent bag now? Not enough to work with DWP yet. Pump it up. It's rocket time. I know I'm not going to don't leverage your house. Don't risk everything that you have and put it in on XRP. It's hypocritical of me to say that. But as a fiduciary and somebody that I know people do listen to, and for, again, take me as credible, and for whatever reason, again, implement what I say, it would be remiss of me or irresponsible to tell somebody to leverage their house to buy a bunch of XRP. Would I do it? Absolutely. Have I done it? No. My wife had this house long before that we currently live in. So I have not borrowed against this home or any others to invest in XRP. But if I had large lines of credit, I might use those to buy more XRP while I could. But again, I'm not telling you to do that. I'm just talking about me personally. I have a very high risk tolerance. I have a very high conviction on this asset, more so than anything else that's out there in the market. I understand it. I spend all my time on it. I do not have any ignorance or gaps in knowledge on it. So I'm in a very unique position to be able to justify that type of decision, whereas most people are not. So again, I would not recommend it, but you can do whatever you want at the end of the day. And whatever you do, I hope it works out the best for you and your family. We got Matt again. He says, what's up, man? Trump has mentioned major upgrades to the financial system using crypto and blockchain. If XRP were selected to be one of these leaders, what kind of price could we see? Enjoy your tea. I mean, I've talked about the price we will see, and that's going to be 3 and 4 digits. And that's, again, coincides exactly with what you said there. We got Peter. He says, what's your take on Jimmy Valley's buyback possibility? Buyback possible? Or damages of any sort of XRP army? Don't care, just asking to put it out there for the rest of us. To put it to rest for me, please. So I was part of the Red Folder Committee and the Valuation Committee and all of that with Jimmy. I know Jimmy very well. I enlisted many other people that are in the XRP army. It's actually how I met Max and my business partner, Max Avery. We ended up being on that committee together. And that's kind of what started everything that we have now, was because Jimmy decided to put that together, and he asked Ray Fuentes to find good people. Ray reached out to me, and then I passed that along to other people that participated on that committee. So very familiar with that whole valuation and the whole premise behind it. I think it's more of a precaution based on everything that I've talked to with Jimmy about. Okay. So is it plausible? Sure. Is it going to happen? Probably not. Are there any damages? For sure there's damages. Are they like provable in court? I don't know. You would have to prove ETHgate, and they would also have to accept that the SEC had the involvement that they have shown to have had in ETHgate. The U.S. government's not going to admit that. The SEC's not going to admit that. They're going to roll that under the rug. That's never going to happen. So for them to actually pay, losses to people that, were around, I was around. I had XRP that was in the snapshot in 2020. I got my Flare tokens. Also very interesting to me that they took a snapshot of the XRPL and the wallet addresses 9 days before the lawsuit was filed. Why would they do that? Especially since it took Flare 5 years to launch. Things that make you go, So maybe there is something on the outcome of that, where people are given reparations for that situation. I would definitely be in that group. I would love that to happen. Not counting on it. Could they do a buyback? They don't need our XRP. And this is how I know that, okay? We worked with Standard Custody early on to custody our clients' assets. And when I went to Ripple, when they made the acquisition, I said, hey, we're holding all this XRP over here. It was like $30 million worth of XRP at the time. Actually, it was about 30 million XRP, I think. It wasn't even, a ton of money at the time. The XRP was like 30 or 40 cents. So it was like 10 million bucks in XRP at the time. And I said, hey, our clients would really like to participate with Ripple in ODL, or you guys lending it out, or we would like to lend it to you and, work with you all to be able to generate yield or returns on the XRP. And their stablecoin guy looked at me and said, why do we need your XRP? We have 4.8 billion of our own. Like, that was their attitude toward me and my clients, our clients. And I was like, oh, okay. They don't need any of our stuff. Like, we don't own enough of the supply for it to even matter. Like, we could get wiped. Retail could get wiped. Wouldn't matter for the institutions. They have all of the XRP that they possibly need, including governments. They don't need to buy our XRP back. So, David Schwartz talks about, so what if a couple of people get really wealthy? That's what's going to happen. There's just going to be, a few, maybe 10,000 people on the planet that become really wealthy off of XRP. And the rest of it, and most of those people will squander it, unfortunately. And I don't say that to be mean or like any certain way. I just, 70% of lottery winners go bankrupt within 3 to 5 years. It's an actual statistic. If you didn't come from wealth, if you don't know how to manage wealth, you might also continue to roll it because that's how you made it. I've seen that be prominent in crypto. People make a ton of money in crypto and then continue to gamble it. Wealth preservation and wealth creation are two completely different games. The amount of risk that you take to be able to generate wealth is often substantial and unsustainable. And you only have to get rich once. And once you get rich, you need to pivot. Pivot hard. Your whole paradigm needs to change to wealth preservation. And you want, to continue to grow beyond whatever the inflation rate is, but it does not have to be aggressively risking everything. It should be very calculated risk with asymmetric bets and hedged with the majority of your portfolio to be, uncorrelated across multiple asset classes and, kind of a market neutral strategy. And that's why we do what we do with the funds. They're all market neutral strategies to generate additional returns without downside risk or mitigating as much downside risk as we can. And that is wealth preservation and not, we're not shooting for the next 100x or 1000x at Digital Wealth Partners. We want people to be able to generate income, passive income on their XRP, compound their XRP at a meaningful rate, outpace inflation, have real returns, but do it in a way where we're mitigating downside risk as much as possible. So I know that was a big derail from Jimmy Valley, but I do not think that there's ever going to be a buyback. I think that, again, that was just a precaution, and Jimmy wanted to have that in place just in case people just decided to get a little squirrely. And I really do thank him for doing that. I think it opened a lot of people's eyes to what's going on, and a lot of people think Jimmy's crazy. Jimmy's not crazy. Jimmy is probably one of the smartest guys I know. He was a securities attorney. He understands M&A better than most people. He's made a lot of money in his career. He does very well for himself. He bills $50,000 per month in XRP if you want to use his services. So that's his retainer. We got B-Man. He says, hey, Jake, it's so close. I can taste it. And it tastes like freedom. So grateful for being part of what you were called to do. Thank you, man. Or woman. I've said that before, but I really do feel called to do this. and I don't even know how to explain it, but like I don't know if you've ever been in a spot in your life where you feel like you're in alignment with what you're put here to do. I feel like I was put here to help other people protect this and become a steward and use this for their highest purpose. And I feel like I'm being used in that capacity, which is awesome. Wouldn't trade it for anything. We got Brandon G. He says, Jake, can newcomers purchase digital assets with Digital Wealth Partners to onboard? Caleb and Brown charges 3.5%. Yeah. If you want to send over a wire and whatever amount you need to be able to be a client, absolutely. We'll do it for 20 basis points all day. We would love to be able to get you the cheapest rate to purchase anything, and make sure that your bag is, secured in institutional custody. So just email us. Go to info. Well, yeah, do info at digitalfamily. Info at digitalwealthpartners.net. Or you can use the contact us page over there at digitalwealthpartners.net as well. We got Dave, Mr. M. He says, I am a mastermind member and find great value within the group. Thank you, man. I appreciate that. Anyway, you can give your wife, my wife Ariel, a shout out tonight and help her understand why digital assets will be the future, especially XRP. Thanks. Shout out to Ariel. Thank you for taking the time and hanging out here with me, Dave. Hopefully you guys are still awake, because that was a long time ago that you posted that in here. This is the next iteration of the internet. I know that sounds kind of like corny, but we've had the internet of information. Web 1 was read only. Web 2 was read and write. So like social media, you're able to interact with stuff that other people post. Web 3 is where you own the data, and that'll come a little bit later, but it also comes with the value transfer. And that's really the first application for digital assets or crypto, is sending money between people. You may have seen the announcement just the other day that PayPal and Venmo are now going to be interoperable. Wonder how they're going to do that. Bet it's on blockchain. So that's the power of this, and that's the real world application that I think most people will see as a tangible deal. You could use Cash App or PayPal or Venmo, and you would be able to send other people on those other applications money real time, and they would get it. And when they move it to their bank account, normally you get two options on those payment apps. You have instant for a fee and they pre-fund it, or you can wait 2 or 3 days and it actually settles. What if you could do instant for free? That's also what blockchain does, and mainly XRP. So you can see the value proposition there. Like, it removes those frictions between siloed parties today where you have to download the same app, or banks have to pre-fund accounts with other banks to be able to settle with them. Won't have to do any of that. They just use this unified ledger and this asset. They send the value over the network. It lands with the counterparty in seconds, cost them less than a penny to send $1 million. And global trade and commerce becomes much faster and easier to do. And there's less fees. So all of that combined is the reason that we will see the adoption of this stuff. And also why you've seen it delayed as long as you have is the incumbents are rushing to figure out how they can use this for themselves and not become irrelevant. And that's a lot of what the case with, Ripple and SEC were. I think they still needed time for the banks to get things in place. And now we're here, though. I mean, we got the stablecoin regulation. We have the Clarity Act coming. The U.S. has stepped up, and now we have bipartisan support for this initiative and this technology. It's all here. We're finally to the finish line here in 2025 in Q4. And I think 2026 to 2030 will just be a flash of everything being tokenized and brought on chain for multiple applications. But payments is the first killer app. The upheaval. They say, Jake just signed up with DAG for the half off the LLC. Awesome. Glad to be working with you. I want to set up a family limited partnership instead of the LLC. Can DAG do that for me? Yeah. Just email us and say, hey, here's my, LLC ticket. that I paid for, I'd like to do a family limited partnership. And our team over there will help you. Just email support at digitalfamilyoffice.io, and we'll get that squared away for you. Christina says, hey, new member to the mastermind. Awesome. Let's go diamond hands. That's what I'm talking about. Thanks for everything that you do, Jake. You're the best. My name is Chris Tay Naya. Christina. I'm going to butcher it. I apologize for the butchering of the name. And you would think I'd be good about that because everybody's butchered my last name my whole life. Everybody says Claver. It's Claver, but everybody says Claver. So I apologize for, I'm really good if I hear you say it. But I don't know how that's going to happen. We'll have to meet you in person at one of the in real life events that we have in the mastermind. We do more of those than any other community in crypto. And we would love to have you there at the next one. We have one in San Francisco on the 26th of October here. Going to be an awesome meetup out there. Really cool location. Just prior to SF Fund Week and CoinAlts, which we'll be there for also. So if you want to know where it's at, you want to participate, you'd like to go to that in real life event, I will be there along with many of our team. And then all the other people in the mastermind, they're awesome. It's going to be, just what do we got here? Less than 20 days left. So if that sounds cool to you, again, you can join the mastermind and figure out where it's going on there. You just go to beyondbroke.com and use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO like Mary Oscar gets you the first month for $2 there in social or carbon 1. And it doesn't matter which tier you are, you can come to any of the events that we have there for the mastermind. We got Crypto M. He says, hey, El Jefe, what's up? I get how the Japan bond rate impact the reverse carry trade, but what drives the daily movement of the rates? And also, I now have 4 friends who've gotten into XRP and into the mastermind. Awesome. Thank you so much. Very cool to see awesome people coming in and wanting to be there. And again, we're going to shut that down. We're going to shut it off. So if you have cool people that you think would benefit from the mastermind, I would highly encourage you to go ahead and get them over and let them try it out. It's month to month, no contract. If you like it, stay. If you don't, that's okay. It's not for everybody. We use Discord. I know that it's kind of a pain in the butt for some people. But it's $2. Try it out. See if it's good. If it's not, then again, no losses. So $2. So the bond yields, the way that the bond market works is if there is a lot of faith that a government will be able to pay their debts, the bond yields will go down. Or they think interest rates are going to be lowered by the central bank, bond yields will trade down. If they are concerned that the government will default or not be able to pay their debts, they have to pay people a higher amount in order to get them to buy the bonds. And that's why the interest rates tend to rise if people have less faith that they're going to be able to cover that. So that's how that market works. The more faith that people have, the lower the bond yields go. They don't have to pay them more to be able to buy them or incentivize people to buy them. And then the other way on the other side of that. So hopefully that explains that a little bit better. Living Legacies sent me some other super chats here. This is awesome. Okay. Well, I'll get to those. I'm going to finish up these here toward the top, and then we'll grab those over here that he sent me. We got Wake the Fork Up. He says, thanks so much for the tenacious commitment to the group. Truly appreciate you, man. Now let's go get these spot ETFs. Let's go. Awesome. Thank you. And appreciate the super chat. 589 on the super chat, man. We got Irrelevant One. It says, is a functioning digital identity system a prerequisite for large-scale adoption of digital assets and utilities? Seems like they'd need for end users first. Yes. Digital ID is already live on the XRPL. They already have credentials live. When we were at Swell in 2023 in Dubai with Ripple, they made that very clear that for institutional adoption, you need KYC and digital identity, and you need custody. Both of those things need to be in place prior to the real adoption for blockchain for all the different applications across markets and other infrastructure. So you're spot on, and I do think that is going to happen in the very near future for us to get what we want. Chad XRP says, hey, Jake, join the mastermind, Carbon One. Awesome. 2 days ago. I'm loving it. Wealth of information. Can you give us your thoughts on how the reverse carry trade is coming along with the Bank of Japan's numbers? Thank you for that. So we have, to his point, there's a ton of information there in the mastermind. FAQs, like people have been in there for years, and we've built out full channels on all the different pieces of information that we have. And we also bring in experts across the other fields, right? So if you need credit repair, if you want access to real estate deals, if you want private equity deals, if you want to be able to buy businesses, if you want to do tiny homes, if you want to do storage units, we've had people in there that are experts on life insurance and estate planning, all kinds of things come in there and talk, and it's all recorded in the repository where you can go back and listen to it, and it's all documented and broken down for you. Make it super easy and digestible. I will say it's like drinking from a fire hose for a while. You're going to be inundated with a lot of information very quickly. But if you're able to retain it and continue to iterate on it, it's going to be a crash course in what you need to be able to make sure you maintain your wealth on the other side of price appreciation. So again, if you want to join the mastermind, I've said it a bunch tonight, so this probably will be the last time I say it, but you can use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO gets you the first month for $2. Honest Aim, my man, he says, hi to the tea lady. Just wanted to explain, Mr. Legacy, my clan will remember you as the man that led us to the generational wealth. Beyond Broke Mastermind, product, services, advice, investments. Thank you for that, man. Hope you and your wife are doing well also. It's good to see you guys in Dallas when we had our last event here. There's somebody said not too long ago, there's 2 times when you die. The first time is when you actually die, right? Pass away. The second time is the last time somebody says your name. So my goal, and this may sound egotistical or whatever, it's just a goal, okay? I want to be remembered at least 5 generations from now. You look at Rockefeller, you look at Carnegie, you look at a lot of the people that were, very prominent at the beginning of the 20th century, in the 1900s. They're still remembered today. They've made it 5 generations. Like, we still know who they are. There's books written about them, all kinds of stuff. That's the type of legacy that I want to have. I want to make an impact, but a positive one. Like, a lot of those guys did some sketchy stuff that's not great, that have influenced us and caused a bunch of hardship and issues for society. I want to be remembered as somebody that was a proponent that helped society and helped people make sure that their family was taken care of. So for you to say that means a lot, and I really do appreciate it. All right, we got Gavin. He says, pretty sure you're getting shadow banned. Your lives don't pop up on my subscription section anymore. That's okay. I'm still going to be here. I'm still going to do them. It might be, shadow banned, but that's all right. We already did this one for Crypto M. And we did these. I think I got through all of them that were posted by 9:20. So I'm going to take one question over here on TikTok, and then I'm going to grab these other super chats here. This one says, Jake, why is the LLC 4K with DEC? Because that's really what it would cost if you worked with most attorneys. If you use the code 50OFF, 50OFFDAG LLC, that gets you everything for $2,000 instead of the $4,000 that our attorneys would normally charge to be able to set that up for you. So, and you get, a template for the operating agreement that's exactly what you need. You get the filings done the way that you need them to maintain your anonymity. Everything is done end to end specifically for digital assets and your benefit over the long term. All right, let's get these other super chats here. We got John again. He says, just want to say thank you. That was the one for the whiskey. We did that one. Michael Wood. Hey, dude. Good to see you. I think I have a meeting with you here in just a few days. He says, what high-level pointers would you give someone working on creating a digital asset protection trust 55 years old, married, 3 kids, retired. Thanks for all that you do. Pointers on a digital asset protection trust or a domestic asset protection trust in Wyoming. I would structure it in Wyoming, because again, you're going to get the creditor protection, and the anonymity, and mainly the regulation there in Wyoming is extremely friendly for crypto. I would work with an attorney that knows what they're doing, has litigated trusts, has administered trusts, and understands what provisions to put in trust for those situations, and isn't just, getting started in their career. They've got a lot of tenure and understanding of what's going on. I would look at adding different clauses to your asset protection trust to make sure that it meets the criteria and how you want to manage your estate over the long term. If it's over 100 pages, it's probably too extensive and too rigid. If it's less than 30 pages, it's probably not as robust as you need. So somewhere in between those two amounts is probably going to be the sweet spot for you to capture everything that you want inside that, and also give you the ability to be malleable, because you want things to be flexible with it. You're going to want to pick a good distribution trustee, somebody that you trust enough to, help you out. Obviously, they do have to do things to make sure that they're abiding by what they're supposed to do, and not just give you your assets out of your trust anytime, especially if it is to pay off creditors. That's their job, to protect you in that situation. Work with a really good attorney. I would try to make sure that you're finding the best attorneys to work with that understand digital assets and are going to set it up the right way. And, a lot of what I just mentioned there. So we do have those attorneys at Digital Ascension Group and Digital Family Office. So if you need somebody like that, if you've got a couple million in crypto and you want to go ahead and set up an asset protection trust to make sure that everything's protected and your family is set up for the long term, we would love to work with you in that. And again, can introduce you to the right people to make sure that that happens. We got HTTR. They say, hey, Jake, thanks for all the information that you've been putting out. Really appreciate it, man. One, do you recommend moving XRP from Uphold Vault to Decent before setting up the LLC? Two, where can you store hash? So Vault's probably fine, to be honest with you. I like Vault product. They hold the third key. They can regenerate the keys. It is a cold wallet that only moves your assets back to Uphold to be able to transact. I'm fine with that. I think that that's a good product that they put out. And I do trust Uphold. Actually, I have a meeting with them in a couple days. So I like them. I think you're okay where you're at. If you really want to, you can move it to Decent. But I think you're okay on Vault. And then where can you store hash? We need to lobby. Okay. I need you guys to email Decent. I need you to go to their website and tell them, hey, I want you to add hash to your wallet. If we get enough people to do that, I mean, just if a couple 50 or 100 of you guys will go do that, just go to the website right now, go to Decent, and there'll be like a submissions, tab, or, ask for help or contact us or whatever. And if you shoot them a message and say, please add hash, HASH, to the assets in your wallet, they will do it. They did it for DAG. We've done it for a few other things. We just need 50 or 100 people to go do that. Once that's done, you'll be able to move it off of Osmosis or Figure Markets into your Decent wallet, and you'll be good to go. So we just need 50 or 100 people to go over there to Decent's website. And again, contact us or the submission form or whatever, and just say, hey, you guys should custody hash. And we can make that happen, my man. The power of community, right? That's the other wonderful thing about being part of the mastermind and the XRP family and all of this is you're just one person alone. But when you're part of a community, you're a force. We are a force together. We will be able to command a lot of resources as a group. And that's the other benefit of Digital Wealth Partners. I mean, we have so much momentum at this point. Everybody has their own segregated, siloed account. You get your assets it's like have your cake and eat it too. It's completely separated, but we're still a united front when we go to negotiate stuff on your behalf, or with you. We always talk to our clients about stuff also. And, I think that we're going to be able to command a lot of stuff together that you wouldn't be able to get on your own or individually. Better rates, better returns, better deals, all of it. And then this last one here, we got Marvel Cabinetry and Renovations. Very cool. They say, do you think ODL is turned on publicly? Do you think there's a flip of the switch moment where the private ledger is added to the public ledger? Thanks, Jake. Love all the work that your team does. So ODL is being used publicly already. Part of the volume that is settled through XRP is ODL. It's not a ton. And a lot of what ODL is right now, because of the stable coins really haven't, had the prominent launch that we're hoping for with the Genius Act and all of that. They move the XRP to Uphold. Uphold swaps it for fiat. They lend it to the bank. The bank uses it for whatever they're going to do. They pay it back in whatever currency was lent to them. They swap it back for XRP and they pay back Ripple. So ODL is not really like using XRP as it could be if everything was transacted on chain. So when it comes to the flip of the switch moment, they do have private permission ledgers that are exact replicas of the XRPL that they have trialed in certain applications. And in those ecosystems, the asset that is not the real XRP has been substantially higher prices. Okay. Now, those could be side chains at this point, and they would need smart contract capability, right? They would need like an infrastructure like Corda. Maybe, Ripple's got similar stuff to Corda. And they are side chains on the XRPL. Once the price of XRP on the public network is high enough, those might then merge, and then the price stability would be held because there'd be enough liquidity in the original asset or the public asset to be able to hold that market stable and to be able to settle whatever's running over there in all those different applications. So if you want to call that a flip of the switch moment, sure. But I think it's not going to be like they flip a switch and XRP's price goes. It is, we launch the ETFs and drive liquidity into XRP. And as it gets pushed up, a lot of those things start kicking on to hold price floors for XRP. So I know there's a lot of people out there telling you that XRP is going to fall 60, 70, 90% this next cycle. It's not going to happen. If they push it up over $100, you can bet your biscuits that it is going to be a very high, stable price in perpetuity. Okay. So I know, again, I'm just one guy. Take it with a grain of salt. There's other people on the internet that are smarter than me, but maybe I know some things they don't. This person says, how high? I think $100. Once XRP gets over $100, they will absolutely be able to use it to start settling things. And I think those are most of the super chats. I'm going to go all the way to the bottom here and try to grab a couple more before we wrap it up tonight. Those are the big prominent super chats. We've got Dave. He says, are you able to say more on why you don't recommend Ledger? It's all I have right now. So wondering if you think it's worth selling some XRP to replace it. I wouldn't sell XRP to replace it. I've been threatened with a lawsuit by Ledger, so I'm not going to say anything else about why I don't personally use it. I'm just going to tell you that I don't personally use it. You guys did good on the super chats. We got Key, Mr. Top J. Just woke up 5 a.m. Awesome. Did you see the IMF warning and reverse repo being empty combined with the BOJ? All of this is juicy. You're telling me, Key. Yeah. I I think we're right here on the cusp of it. I've been talking about it the whole year. I anticipate a big Q4 for XRP and global macroeconomics breaking down. We got gold at an all-time high. We got silver at an all-time high. We got stocks at an all-time high. The only thing that's not at an all-time high is XRP. So if you're going to put your money somewhere, I wonder where you put it. We got Doug. He says, Jake, if a person did use their HELOC to reach 100,000 tokens, can returns from the income fund be used to help cover the interest expense until price appreciation? We don't have monthly distributions off of the income fund. It's quarterly. And there is no guarantee of any return on the income fund, just so you're aware. Historically, the income fund has performed very well. Okay. So if you look at the tear sheets, you can go all the way back. It'd be somewhere between 20 and 40% a year that the income fund has generated. But that could be, like, just as an extreme example, it could be down 4% over the first 3 quarters and then do 25% the last quarter and still meet the 20% over the year. Okay. Just to illustrate to you, like, it's not that volatile by any means. It's very stable in comparison to that. But as an extreme example, like, it's over a year's term and any one of those quarters could potentially be negative. I wouldn't risk your house and your life and bet it on the income fund. We will have yield products in the very near future, but I don't know that that's going to cover the interest rate on your house. Again, 3 or 4% on the yield product. We will, pay, I think, 2.5%, 3% to people on the income fund this next week. At least that's what I think is going to happen. Don't quote me on that. Don't quote me. I will give you guys hard numbers when I know hard numbers. But again, that would be great. If it was 1% a month and I could guarantee you 3% a quarter, I would tell you, yeah. But I don't have that, and it's not a thing yet. And I do not want you to be in a position you're like, Jake told me. Jake didn't tell you that. If you want to do that, that's on your own accord. Is it possible? Sure. Is it wise to do? Yeah, I don't know. I do think the appreciation on XRP would be more than enough to. Again, it's financial advice. I can't give you financial advice. You make the best decision for you and your family, Doug. We got Stefan. He says, hey, Jake, listen to you every morning on my way to work, living in Denmark. Very cool, dude. Thank you. Do you work with people from Europe? Yeah, we absolutely do. As long as your assets are held in an entity or some type of structure, we would love to work with you. And you can structure stuff in Switzerland. We can structure stuff in Portugal. We have multiple counterparties over there that work with our clients in the broader EU. This person says, hi, Jake. Info needed. Can I add my son as a manager to the LLC Wyoming? Will that corrupt anything? Nope. Yeah, you can add him on there. You would be the member, and it would just be, him as a manager it'd be like an employee of the LLC. No, not a problem at all. You guys did good on the super chats. You didn't run it down too much after I said. We get Devin. He says, can you talk a bit about Flare? I've had Hugo on. You should watch the podcast that I had Hugo on for. I don't currently use Flare. I'm waiting till institutional adoption, and then we'll revisit it. Chad, he says, Coach JV, 3T Warrior, we're both unleashed and are always positive on XRP. Yeah. All those guys, all like XRP. I used to watch all of them. I know them all. So I have their cell phones. All good guys. We got Landon Hampton. He says hash price prediction 1 year out, end of this year. Ooh. I think hash is a longer play, to be honest with you. I mean, maybe 10 cents end of year. Call it $1 end of next year, and maybe more. Could be more by the end of next year. Just depends on the adoption of provenance. Based on my conversation with somebody that would know, he was super bullish So, but I don't know what super bullish is for him. 300x returns on some of the other stuff he's done has been awesome. So I don't know if that's what super bullish is, but that'd be nice if it was. We got Southside Crypto says, hypothetically, you're in the top 2% of XRP holders. Keep stacking or hedge with ISO compliant tokens. I've been in the top 2% of XRP holders for 5 years. So, and I still keep buying. So whatever you want to do, my man. I would say whatever, get you an amount that you're comfortable with, and then be okay with it. Whatever that number is for you, get to that number. Set a number, get to it, be comfortable, and then live your life, right? Just know that that's there and you're good. Chomp says, Garlinghouse said the missing piece for institutional adoption is a private layer strong enough to protect sensitive data while staying regulatory compliant. Really? I don't know if you've done any research on Midnight blockchain that's being launched by Charles. Dust and some of the other stuff that they got going on over there. If you haven't, I would encourage you to go check that out. Let's see here. We'll grab one, we'll grab two more, and then we're gonna lock it down for tonight. We got Robert Dan Bird. What's up? He says, hey Jake, the man. What's up, dude? Would the US just work with Japan to prevent the reverse carry trade if the interest compression gets too tight? No. Nope. This is all orchestrated. Like, I do not know how to impress upon you guys that this has got to happen at some point. And they know that. They would rather it happen on their terms than happen without their say. All of the central banks. Because if it happens without their say, like it started to happen last year in August, if it had unwound without stablecoin regulation in place, we're in Mad Max right now. Like, I do not know how to impress upon you the gravity of what would have happened if they would have allowed it to unwind last year without the stablecoin bill in place. Bond market's decimated. The backbone of the financial system's gone. The US dollar is gone. Like, we are in a bad spot if they had let that unwind last year in August. But they didn't. They held rates. They worked together to kick the can, just like you're talking about here. And now they're in a position where they can let it unwind, and it's going to be okay. I'm gonna grab one more, and then we will lock it down. We'll be done for tonight. Come on, let's find a good one. Here we go. We got Deneen. They say mahalo, mahalo. Good to see you from Hawaii there. So much for the information. Thank you. They say thank you. Aloha is, I guess, what I'm looking for. You are creating smarter, wealthier people. I look forward to signing up for the institutional coverage when price appreciation hits. Absolutely. Look forward to working with you. I was just on Kauai not too long ago. Love Hawaii. If you haven't been to Hawaii, I would highly recommend going to Hawaii. If you're a U.S. citizen, it's a beautiful, beautiful place. There were lots of roosters and chickens over there on Kauai. Hurricane, let them loose. And I think that's it. I think that's what we're going to do for tonight. If you did send a super chat and I missed it, I'm sorry. Please DM me in the mastermind. I would love to answer it for you. Again, you can join the mastermind. All you got to do is go to beyondbroke.com, use the code BeyondBroke, all capitalized, the number 1, and then MO, get you the first month for $2. There in the mastermind, both social and Carbon One. We would love to have you in there, and we would love to see you in San Francisco. If you need the LLC, we would love to work with you on that as well. Make sure that you have a holding company to be able to manage your assets, get creditor protection, set yourself up for success and the most flexibility on the other side of price appreciation, and be able to take profits to your bank account without it getting frozen or flagged. So again, if you want to work with us on that, you just go to digitalfamilyoffice.io and use the code 50OFF, 50OFF, DAG LLC. That's 50 off DAG LLC. Get you everything end to end for the LLC for $2,000. And then last but not least, if you want to work with digital wealth partners, get your assets into institutional custody after you've set up a corporation or a trust to manage your assets. If you're international, we're happy to connect you to the right people. Just email us at info@digitalfamilyoffice.io. But if you want to work with the institutional custody and get returns on your XRP and access to the yield products and the other stuff we're going to have coming later this year, we would love to work with you over there as well. You need at least 100,000 XRP or at least $500,000 in total portfolio value. And again, that website is digitalwealthpartners.net. So if you found value in this, again, I don't ever say this enough during the deal, but if you wouldn't mind, please like, subscribe, share it with somebody else, and we will see you guys on the next one.